Welcome back, everybody, to the Meeple Marathon. Today, I'm going to be giving you my 12 games of Christmas. Now, specifically, this is for solo players. So, most of these games, actually, I think all of them, can be played multiplayer, but I've created this list with the solo gamer in mind. So if you are looking for games to add to your Amazon wish list, or games to give to your family and friends for gift ideas, or if you are looking for a game, you have a gamer in your family and you are needing some ideas for games, these are all games that you can easily find. They're readily available. For example, I could have put Mage Knight Ultimate Edition on this list or Sleeping Gods on this list, but I did not, because those games, even though they have been fantastic games for me either this past year or historically, they're not that easy to find. They're not that easy to track down. And if you're just the casual shopper and you're not a gamer and you're not aware of places like Game Nerds and Miniature Market or your friendly local game store, then you might not be able to find these. So all of the games on this list are specifically put there because they are readily available in your common shopping areas. Most of them are on Amazon, but if I found them cheaper on, say, Target or Walmart, I have highlighted those websites here. So I'm not affiliated with any of these websites. I'm not going to put links in the description below. Simple Google searches will find you all of these games. So just keep that in mind as we move into our first honorable mention. It would not be a list without an honorable mention, and for me that's going to be Merchant's Cove. Now, the reason why this is an honorable mention is because I have not quite gotten into this game enough to give it my recommendation for purchase for the holiday season, but this game is available on Amazon at the online game stores like Game Nerds and Miniature Market, things like that. Merchant's Cove, the reason why I am recommending it is that it has this asymmetrical player abilities in this Euro-style game. So it is technically a worker placement. It's more like an action selection game because you're just moving your single pawn around and you're only moving it on your board. And your board is very different than the player next to you's board. So you can see here, this is the common board that everybody plays it, and the whole objective of the game is to create goods that are going to match up with the merchants that are coming in off of those ships. You can see the ships here at the top of the screen. These get merchants randomly get placed in these ships. You have some control over it, but then they come down to port, and they're going to be the ones who are buying certain goods. So you want to kind of plan ahead and have your goods in the right positions to sell. There's a clock on the board. We have a limited amount of time, and there's only 3 rounds, so the games don't last too long. But the biggest selling point for the game, again, are these asymmetrical factions. So the Alchemist here, you can see this is the Alchemist board. It is more of like a potion explosion type of this whole marbles falling, how you pull them out and add them to your cauldrons style of gameplay. Whereas the next person on the list here, the captain, has this map where you're kind of moving around the map. You can spin your compass for chances of better movement, but you might take cursed gold, things like that. But you're basically going around finding treasure, and you don't know what the treasure is going to be. So you can go for the fish, the simple goods, or you can go for the bigger treasure, and it's going to be random. Then you have the blacksmith. He's basically, utilizing dice pips to hit a certain range. If you hit that range perfectly, you're going to be able to create the better goods without taking any corruption, things like that. And then there is the spin-off on Back to the Future. The Chronomancer, these guys mess with these portals. They're going to be changed throughout the game. So you're going to be hopping, messing with time, going back in time, getting artifacts to sell, things like that. That's just the base game. And then there are additional expansions like the Innkeeper thing. I'm not going to go through them all, but I have heard really good things. I have acquired a copy via a trade, and so I'm just settling into Merchant's Cove right now, but it seems like something that's really fun for the solo player, especially if you get the Secret Stash expansion because it has solo scenarios. But just the variety alone in just the base game of having, it's almost like 4 different games. I have heard it is Just an okay recommendation for multiplayer. So if you're looking for something for them to play with the family, with the game group, plus solo, there might be others on this list to consider. And again, I have not actually played this one all the way through yet. I've been reading through the instruction manual, things like that, but it is my recommendation because it's easily available on Amazon, and there's lots of other components you can get for it. So Merchant's Cove is my I can't remember the name of that word, but anyways, let's get up to our first game here. Now, quick caveat, this list is not arranged in any particular order. It literally is just, I just started randomly doing Google searches, so these windows are popping up at random. So Wingspan is not number 12 on the list. It's not number 1 on the list. These are just 12 games of Christmas for my recommendation. So Wingspan, it's been around a long time, not a long time, but several years now. It is an extremely popular game and one that you can find lots of different places. You can find it at Target, you can find it on Amazon, you can find it at your friendly local game store. It is usually in stock. And what is really nice about this game is that it is a unique theme. It's absolutely gorgeous to look at on the table. Just the colors and the, real drawn characters or real drawn pictures of the birds. Just in general, it's a beautiful game to get to the table. The production value is really high just in the base box. And the solo Automa, produced by the Automa Factory, is really great to play against. And the theme also is one that may get the casual gamer or non-gamer to the table to play a game about bird watching. It may be intriguing to them if it's not about elves, wizards, and dungeons and things like that. So Wingspan's been around for a long time. It's getting a lot of press. It's in the media a lot. It's a solid choice. So if you are buying this for someone else, I would just check and make sure they don't already have Wingspan, because a lot of people already have this in their collection. It's been around for a couple years. All right. Next up on the list is a Role Player. This is another one that's been around for several years now, and makes a great multiplayer game. And with Role Player, what you are doing is you are rolling dice out randomly. These dice are going to be various colors, and you are trying to match a pattern scheme. So if we roll over, well, Amazon's zoom capabilities is not working for me, but if you see here, there are like certain colors that are in certain positions. There's also this, your character class here has a range of numbers, so you're trying to not only have the pips add up to a specific range of numbers, you're trying to land the correct colored dice in this pattern. You're also trying to keep this moving around so it's on the most optimal point setup. And the reason this is a great solo option, but also a great family option, is that in the solo game, this game is really just about the puzzle. It's about the randomness of the dice that are going to come out of the bag, and then the randomness of the roll. And really, when you play multiplayer, you're just kind of trying to hope that they don't take the dice in front of you if they go before you, or the card if you are in the market phase. But other than that, everybody is just kind of focused on their own personal board, and it's really just about your own personal puzzle. And that's the way I feel about this game, is that it's just this great puzzle to sit down. If you're familiar with the rules, you can knock it out in 30 minutes or less easily. There are expansions for this game that really open things up. For example, you can see here on Amazon alone, you have the Fiends and Familiars expansion, which I personally would recommend. Some people say Monsters and Minions. I personally say Fiends and Familiars because it has a little bit of content from Monsters and Minions. It has some monsters and minions in it, not nearly as many, but Fiends and Familiars to me is the most complete expansion. Now, Monsters and Minions was the best expansion added to the game, but Fiends and Familiars added a little bit of what they added in Monsters and Minions. So if you're going to get something, I would say get Fiends and Familiars. But you can see here it's a reasonably priced game, easily available on Amazon. Again, if you are buying for someone else, I would just check and make sure they don't already own Role Player, because it's been around for several years. All right, up next on the list is Marvel Champions. This one really blew onto the scene last year, and is easily available. Walmart happened to be the cheapest price when I did my Google search, so I highlighted Walmart's website of it here, but it is available on Amazon. I believe you might be able to even find it on Target, certainly your friendly local game store. And what's nice about Marvel Champions is that it has a single rule set, how you play the game, but then there is not infinite, but quite expansive collection of expansion packs available. And these blister packs are much cheaper. They're around $15 to $20, where you can add in new villains or new heroes. And so basically, if you are buying for someone, or you are someone who is a fan of the Marvel Universe, basically get the base game and then go out and pick your favorite character, pick your favorite bad guy, add that content to your base box, and it's just a really solid, well-playing card game. It's a living card game, so they're going to continue to come out with expansions for it. Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse is coming up next. They just finished up with kind of Guardians of the Galaxy, Thanos universes, and they've covered most of the main Marvel Avengers, things like that. So lots of content here for a Marvel fan, and it is a game that can be played single-handed with a single character. It can be played two-handed. That's how I prefer to play, and that doesn't add too much complexity to the game. But it's also a game you can sit down and play with your friends and have them control their own characters. Personally, I think it works best when you have at least two heroes to combo off of each other. But again, the game can be played completely solo. So great recommendation for anyone who is a huge Marvel fan. This one has been out for a little over a year now. So again, check and make sure they don't already have one. All right. Dinosaur Island Roar and Write is my first one on my list here that is brand spanking new. So chances are the gamer in your life does not have this one. But I have been really just enamored with this version of the game. This came out as part of the Dinosaur World Kickstarter. So it was like this dual Kickstarter that Pandasaurus Games ran at the same time, and they had kind of a reworking of their classic Dinosaur Island game in a roll and write scenario. And then they did Dinosaur World. Now, Dinosaur World in its right is a good game. It's got a good solo mode, but this one is what I find myself bringing to the table more often. It is literally 2 minutes to set up the game, super fast. The rules are not overly complicated. There's a lot of that same feel of Dinosaur Island in it. You're building out your park, but it has this really unique kind of polyomino Tetris style aspect of adding. You're physically drawing those buildings. You can see the grid up on the top left sheet there. You're adding your buildings to the park. You got to make them fit, and then you have to connect them with roads. So there is this like drawing aspect to it, but then other than that, it's basically like roll the dice, choose which resources you want to gain from those dice, and then you use those dice to take actions. And if people beat you to that space, you can still take it, but you're taking threat. It's just very clean, very simple. I love the strategy. I love the way you go through your running of the park phase. It's like 2 dice rolling rounds and then a run the park phase, and then you go through that whole setup 3 times. I've just been really enamored with this game. It's a great game to play with others. You can play up to 4 people, but I've just been really enjoying it solo. It's so quick and easy to get to the table. It's not a big table hog. Highly recommending Dinosaur Island Roar and Write. And it's relatively new, so it could be a nice gift for somebody who's got a pretty decent game collection. And you can see here, easily available on Amazon, and it's not too expensive either. It's not going to break the bank. All right, next up on my list is Paladins of the West Kingdom. Now, this is a game that's part of a trilogy, and that is the West Kingdom trilogy by Garfield Games and Shem Phillips. Paladins just happens to be my favorite of the 3, at least to play solo. There is Architects of the West Kingdom, Paladins, and then Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Paladins literally sits in the middle of both complexity and when it came out. But I feel like this one's solo mode runs the best. I feel like Architects plays a little bit better multiplayer when you have other people versus the solo mode, and Viscounts is a little bit more convoluted. I enjoy the game, but it's crunchier in my opinion. Paladins is a great mixture of kind of revealing stuff off your board, to improve your engine, and getting it's a worker placement, but the pool of workers you get changes every time depending on the paladin that you choose. And this game is it's still getting a lot of attention because they are producing collector's boxes for it. They're producing expansions for it. You can get the Tome Saga expansion, which connects all 3 games of the trilogy together. So if you've ever been curious about these Garfield games, historically Raiders of the North Sea was their classic that everybody raves about. Now the West Kingdom trilogy everybody's raving about. They're getting ready to start releasing their next trilogy, and I believe that's like the South Sands or something like that, something in the Arab nations. But if you are wanting to see if their type of games are for you, because their games play pretty similar, once you've played one, you're pretty familiar with the rest. I would jump on one now, check it out, and then be prepared to jump all in and kind of ride the wave of the next trilogy that comes out. But Paladins just happens to be my recommendation, especially if you are purchasing for a solo player. Sheer enjoyment of playing the solo mode. So that's Paladins of the West Kingdom. Again, easily available on Amazon, friendly local game store. All right, next up is Everdell. Everdell is another game where the solo AI is incredibly easy to run and manage, but is challenging, and there are various challenging levels. Everdell also has a wide variety of expansions that have come out and are still in production to be released soon. But this is a game that not only is great to play solo, but another one of those similar to Wingspan that you could easily get to the table to get other people to play with you who are non-gamers or casual gamers. The rule set is very straightforward. It's not too convoluted to teach, but the table presence of this game, especially with the 3-dimensional tree, is just outstanding. The artwork and the cards are beautiful to look at, all the little critters. I've never heard anyone complain about staring at this game on the table. The little perler bead berries that are squishy, if you set this game up, say you are gathering for Christmas and you set this game up on the table, I guarantee you will have 3 other people who are curious enough to try out the game and will sit down and play it with you. So Everdell Standard Edition. Now there are collector's editions of every single. There are Standard Edition, collector's edition of every single, the core set, and every single expansion. So that is something to consider if you are buying for someone who is really into the collector's editions. You'll definitely want to search for Everdell Collector's Edition, but those are available also on Amazon as well. And Starling Games is in the process of producing a big box collector's edition, which includes all of the expansions. That's going to be coming out later next year. So, maybe you just want to try out the game and then try and sell this copy. Who knows? But either way, it plays great solo, plays great multiplayer, great to look at, great to get people into. Highly recommend Everdell. But again, this game has been out for a couple of years, so make sure they don't already have it. All right, next up is Marvel United. This is a game that every time I play this game, I get higher and higher and higher on it. This is the core set, the original core set that was a Walmart exclusive when it first came out. So you can see here the Walmart exclusive version came with the Venom hero character. So that's why I put and I believe Walmart is still the cheapest for the core set. You can easily find this on Amazon and your friendly local game stores, things like that. You can find other sets, other places. So if you were wanting some of the other characters, again, Marvel United took this whole Avengers line and just created a chibi miniature and a playable card deck for every single one you could think of. So similar to Marvel Champions, if you have someone in your family who is a huge Marvel United fan and wants something a little more scaled down in difficulty, but still really fun, I played this game with my sons who are 5 and 7. And since the actions that you're going to take on any given turn are almost always just iconography, there's a little bit of text on 1, 2, or 3 of the cards in someone's deck, which you can help them read. But other than that, it's just an icon that says green arrow means move. And my sons can figure that out, and they know, oh, I want to move here, and I can punch twice, and it's very straightforward, plays very quickly, but the variety, and I don't see any of the expansions, but I know that they now have the X-Men series. So there was the Marvel Avengers kind of line where they have all the expansions from Spider-Man to Thor to Sinister Six to Black Panther, and now they have just released the core set of the Marvel United X-Men series. So that's going to be the core X-Men, Wolverine, Cyclops, Jean Grey, things like that. But then next year they're going to just flood the market again with all these expansions. If you are an X-Men fan, keep an eye out for that. So maybe you know that your gamer is more of an X-Men fan. Just search for Marvel United X-Men, and you're going to find this same game. They haven't changed the game. It plays quickly. It plays fast. There is variety in, just in the core box, but in unfathomable amount of variety if you get your hands on the expansions. I am super high on this game. It is very cheap. If you just keep your eye out, it'll even drop even cheaper. You can get like this, and I think I've seen this and the Spider-Man expansion together for like $25. So again, very readily available, very easy to find. The miniatures are amazing. The best miniatures in my collection, in my humble opinion. That's Marvel United. Can't lose there. All right, enough of me gushing. Next, I'm going to move to another game that has been around for quite some number of years now, but you can see the amount of awards this game has won. So this is one that you definitely want to check. This is one that I think plays really well for the solo gamer because it is heavy. There's a lot of rules to get through. This is not one that's easy to teach, not one that you necessarily want to sit down with the family at Christmas time and try and get through a game of. But this is such a great game if you are looking for a challenge. It is a survival game of exploration and worker placement. It has worker placement aspects, exploration aspects, but then it has these various scenarios. Just in this base game box alone, I think there's 8 different scenarios, and each one plays unique from the other. So if you've mastered the very first opening scenario, that strategy is not going to work for the other ones. And I just really appreciate how different each of the various scenarios is. Let's see if we can, you can see it's a Euro style game at heart. There's some very drab stuff, but saying that, Portal Games is working on a collector's edition of Robinson Crusoe that contains miniatures. It contains, you can purchase resin, little food and wood and things like that. So if that's something you're interested in, that's going to be coming out next year. But right now, $38.88 for this game is an absolute steal. That's why I put this one on the list, even though it is got some years on it. It is still a classic. It still plays well. It's still a challenge. But $38 for this game is an absolute steal. So if you're looking for a good deal for a solo gamer, snag this one up right now. I already own the game, so I'm not going to purchase another copy. But I've been tempted just to buy another copy for God knows what reason, because $38 is redonkulous for this game. Great game, great survival. It's not really a puzzle. There is some randomness to it. There is some dice rolling, but it's a challenge, and you feel good about the game whether you win or lose, and it just makes you want to dive back in. And when you win, you're like, ooh, I got to try that next scenario. And you find yourself knocking this game out like 8 nights in a row, and then before you finally put it back on the shelf. So, highly recommend Robinson Crusoe Adventures on the Cursed Island. All right, next up is Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion. Gloomhaven still, last time I checked, sits atop Board Game Geek's top games of all time. It is a classic. It's, it got so many things going for it, but it is an immense box. It took me and my brother-in-law 3 years to play through Gloomhaven. COVID mess things up in there and things like that. But Gloomhaven Jaws of the Lion is Gloomhaven 1.5. This is the game that should have come out first. This is a game that baby steps you through learning how to play. It's got the book that opens up, and the maps are just built into the book with all of the scenery and things like that, so you don't have all these map tile pieces that you're having to set up. So setup is very quick. Now, this doesn't have the amount of content that Gloomhaven does, but for the price, and I've seen this constantly goes on sale, so keep your eye out for it. Do this holiday price match guarantee thing. Target has it, Amazon has it, everybody has it. It's available everywhere. So just look to see who has it on sale today. But this, if you have ever been curious about the Gloomhaven universe, this is the way to go. This is the way to start, in my opinion. And you can't go wrong with this system, the Gloomhaven system of your hand management, getting to choose your actions based on your cards, but then, that also includes which cards you chooses your initiative order, but then your hand is also your life, because when you go through your deck and you need to reshuffle it again to get it back up again, you have to lose a card out of your deck. So, and certain cards, if you play them and use the best action on it, you're going to lose. So if you play fast and loose and explosive, you're going to run out of life. You're going to exhaust yourself before the scenario is over. So lots to think about. This game is completely cooperative. There's no dungeon master needed or anything like that. So you can play this solo. I prefer to play this two-player. Two-player is really perfect for me because the games don't get too long. But you need to play two-handed if you play solo. But it can be done, and some people really enjoy doing it solo because they don't want to have to worry about. They can just sit down and immerse themselves in the game and not care about anybody else. But Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion, extremely popular. Came out last year. Easily available, ready to find. Great gift idea. All right. Next up on the list is Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. This is another one that's relatively new. It came out this summer. So you might find that your gamer in your life does not already have this. But this is a slimmed down version of Terraforming Mars. This is simply Terraforming Mars, the card game, essentially. And a lot of the mechanics from Terraforming Mars are still there. You're still getting these cards into your hand, and you're trying to build out your tableau, which will increase your engine, and your resources that you're going to gain every turn are based on your engine. And personally, I prefer this version over Terraforming Mars. I will never go back to regular Terraforming Mars. Too big, too long. Not too long, but longer. Bigger, longer than this. What's unique about Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition is that you choose what action you want to take each round, and everyone else around the table also chooses. Now, if you're playing AI, you randomly choose from their deck. Now, which action you choose, everybody's going to get to do. And then you get to do that plus a little bonus. So you always want to make sure you choose a card that covers what do I need to do on my turn. Okay, so I need to choose this selection, but especially if you're playing with other people, you're trying to think, what's Johnny over there going to choose, or what's Jenny going to choose? Could I get away with, is she going to choose gain cards? Because I only need 2. I don't need the bonus of picking up 4 cards. I really want the bonus of resources, but I need cards first. That whole aspect of sitting there trying to figure out what everyone else is going to play, because if everyone picks the same phase, the same action, then everybody just does that one action, takes that one phase, everybody gets the bonus, but then you just move on to the next round. And you also cannot choose the same phase that you did the last time, so everybody's going to have to pick another one. So this is not a cooperative game, it's a competitive game, plays really well solo, and again, if you are a fan or have heard about Terraforming Mars, this is the way to go, in my opinion. This is readily available at Target. It was a Target exclusive. You can now find it on Amazon. My one caveat is if you have a gamer who is going to spend a lot of time playing this or really appreciates quality of life upgrades to games, go to an online store like Game Nerds and find you the collector's edition. You can see that this box is a little paler. It's not as red as the Target box, the retail box. So, but this is what you're looking for right here. Includes dual layer player boards, cube storage trays. But the dual layer player boards is, in my opinion, worth the upgrade, worth the cost of the upgrade. You can see here that even this at Game Nerds is only about $8, $9 more expensive, and it is so worth it to have the dual layer player boards where the cubes don't slide around if you bump the table, or if your individual markers stay put. This is my one time where I'm going to say, don't just go to where you can most easily find it or find it the cheapest. If you really want to impress someone with your gift, find the collector's edition of Terraforming Mars Ares Expedition. All right, just two more on the list, and then I'll get you out of here. So I believe this is number 11, technically, but again, not in any order. This is Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is a combination game of deck building and worker placement, but it's a very tight both. You're never going to build the deck you're going to build is going to be very tight. You're going to be going through your deck at least halfway through, if not all the way through, every single round, and you only have 2 workers to place. So it takes those 2 mechanics and it shrinks them down into this really tight gameplay where you're trying to explore up this map. You can see as you get higher and higher, the things you explore get better, or you can explore up this temple track to gain more knowledge. It is Indiana Jones in a box. I really appreciate the theme. The production value is really nice. There's cardboard coins and cardboard compasses, but all these other things that you see are like acrylic pieces, unique shaped pieces, and are really nice. And you can easily go to Etsy and find you some acrylic coins and acrylic compasses if you want to upgrade your game. But Lost Ruins of Arnak is the base game's easily available. In next year, they're coming out with an expansion. From what I hear, really improves the solo gameplay overall. Adds just basically more of everything that you love about the game, but adds a lot to the solo game. But there's also the search for Professor Coutil. I have highlighted this expansion on my channel. This is a free to either download the app or run the app via their web. It's a web-based app. Either free to run the app or free to download, print and play. It's a free expansion, which I'm going to wait and see what Expedition Leaders offers, but I don't think I could ever go back to playing Lost Ruins of Arnak without playing through that campaign and sitting down, and it makes you want to play the game 5 times in a row without stopping. But it's just a really great, there's a lot of great mechanics in this game. It's really fun. It's a great theme. It's great to look at. High production value. Just have a lot of good things to say about Lost Ruins of Arnak. And again, easily available here on Amazon, friendly local game store, things like that. I've seen this game get even cheaper recently. Just keep your eye out. All right, last up on the list is another new one. Just recently came out. I almost didn't put this on my list because when it first came out, it was harder to find. You could only find it on like the game-specific stores like Game Nerds and Miniature Market. But now I'm seeing it pop up on Walmart's website. So I decided to make this my number 12 game. It squeaked in. It was the last one I added to the list. Great Western Trail is a heavy game. It is the heaviest game on this list. You play a cowboy who is navigating the Great Western Trail. You're also populating it with buildings as you go along, which means it's going to take longer to work the trail every time. The end goal of the trail is to get to Kansas City, where you deliver your cows. There is this deck, they call it deck building, I call it deck optimization mechanic, where you, as you go along the path, you are trying to shed the crappy cows out of your deck. It's a deck of cows. You're trying to shed the poor cards out of your hand and hold on to the best cards. So when you get to Kansas City, you have the best hand available to sell off your cows, deliver to the best city, and then you start all over again. But when you start all over, you see that you and other people, whether it's you or the AI or other people you're playing against, have built buildings along the way, and each one you have to count as a space. When you start moving, you can also stop at to complete actions. Again, there's a lot of mechanics going on, but this is a great game if you have someone who's looking for something crunchy on their list, a very heavy Euro. It plays great multiplayer, but it also plays great solo. There's actually the original version, this is the second edition, did not come with a solo component, but people on Board Game Geek created a user solo variant, user created variant, and it was so impressive that the creators, Egertspiel, went out and found these guys and collaborated with them to create the Lonely Are the Brave, which is the name of the solo variant in this box, and make it official. So it's just a really cool story in general. It plays really well. I have a lot of coverage recently on this one on the channel if you want to check it out. But the solo AI plays really well, plays very akin to a real live player, so that's why I'm recommending it in my solo list of 12 games of Christmas. Again, this one was a little harder to track down and is not as readily available, but you can see here, you can find it on Walmart, you can easily find it on Miniature Market, Game Nerds, places like that. So that is going to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for my 12 games of Christmas recommendations. Again, these were geared towards the solo player, but almost all of them, I believe all of them, are great games multiplayer as well. Some of these have been around for a couple years, so you just want to check and make sure that they don't already have it in their collection. But otherwise, hopefully you gain some ideas from this list to either request for yourself or to purchase for someone else, that gamer in your life, especially people who play either a lot like me or occasionally solo. This has been the 12 games of Christmas. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please consider subscribing to the channel, because the month of December this year is going to be my month of lists. So we're going to have lots of top 10, top 5, top 20 lists coming out for you this month. So giving people lots of ideas to games to look into, to spend their Christmas money on, things like that. But hopefully this comes out at a great time for you to get your Christmas shopping done. So once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.